Hi, John.
Well, look, Carol. Hi. Nice to see you.
You too. Hi, Ron.
Good evening. John.
Hi, Ron.
So was it a notice defect or they wanted to watch the Yankees game tonight?
Maybe both.
Worked out.
Jonah.
Carol, how are
Doctor.
you?
Good.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
It's fine.
Good. Hi, Erin.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Erin,
She's
how are
Yankee.
you doing?
She's
You
at
look like-
Yankee Stadium. Look at her.
I'm home with COVID, actually.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They got you, huh?
What's up?
They got you.
I know. And Maria,
Oh.
we're both out this week.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
do you feel
So, you know-
okay to do this?
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
just sound a little froggy tonight, but
Huh.
overall, it's
I also tested positive after our last meeting, so I don't think we're going back in person anytime soon.
Were we in person at our last meeting? I thought that.
We keep talking about it, and then
Yeah.
a nice
The possibility.
wave. Yeah.
I know.
Oh, man. That's
Oh,
For me, it
wow.
was my high school reunion. Our 50th high school reunion was a super spreader.
okay.
Oh,
Well,
no.
so everybody was vaccinated and boosted, so it's mild, I hope. So,
Yep. Yeah.
good. Oh,
Hi, Elliot.
Hello.
good
Hi,
evening.
Elliot.
Good evening.
Hi, Elliot.
I think this is everyone, so if it's okay, I think we'll just get started.
Good.
Sure.
I'd like to call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of October 20th, 2022 to order. Seated tonight, we have Ron Bodenson, Shona Hay, Elliot Richardson, and in Giselle McDowell's absence, I'd like to seat John Duza. John, that's okay with you?
Okay, sure.
I
And
think you had the
staff-
wrong last name there for me.
Oh, sorry, did I say, oh, I'm sorry, Elliot Hitchcock. I'm so sorry, Elliot.
No
I'm
problem.
gonna blame it on COVID.
Sure.
Anyway, I apologize. I know another Elliot, obviously. So Elliot Hitchcock, thank you for that correction. And you've had to spell your first name for us as well. This is not acceptable. At any rate, and staff present tonight is Aaron Mannix. The first agenda item we have was to be a public hearing, but due to, I think, technical application issues, it's been tabled to the November 17th meeting. Aaron, do you need to say
Yes, that's a
anything?
request, and I would recommend that the commission take action to table that rather than open and continuing it. Although the sign was posted and the legal notice ran, the notifications to abutters did not go out according to regulations. So the decision was made not to proceed. And so we will re-advertise the legal notices, and then the Austin Hall will send out the notices to the abutters as well. So we'll just have to push it off a month.
Okay, thanks. So we should make a motion then to table it to the November 17th meeting?
Yes, please.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make the
move
motion to table it.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second.
Shauna, thanks.
Could I raise something during sort of
Yeah.
discussion? Aaron, it may be fortuitous. The application was a little thin. And I didn't know if you were going to be doing a staff report that would fill in some of the gaps in advance, but or could I just mention a couple of things that maybe between now and then could get in the file and we would have more information by the next meeting? Is that okay?
What are you looking for, Ron?
Well, for
I mean,
example,
as far as without getting into the real merits of the
oh,
application.
absolutely, not at all. Like 20A said there's an open space plan. Yes, there is, but then they're supposed to attach it, but nothing was attached.
Okay,
It says, is there a master plan? Well, that was left unanswered, but I was on the park advisory board at Salt Meadow, and I'm pretty sure there's a master plan. I think it may be called the Constitution one, but I
So-
think that would be helpful to have, to know what the master plan is.
right,
that-
this is a modification to a special exception, so
Mhm.
we can gather the original application, at least the site plan and
Okay,
that
okay.
type of information, so that you can at least familiarize yourself with the specific area and what
Okay.
proposing.
And-
There may
and
be
I-
changes
that's
coming
good.
to the application anyways,
Okay.
as the applicant has already met with ACCA, and they had some suggestions, so
Okay.
we may get some new information by November also.
Okay. Well, and then another part said, are you within 500 feet of another municipality? It didn't answer it. Well, we all know it's within 500 feet of Clinton. So do we have to give a notice to Clinton or not give a notice? It just was up in the air. And I couldn't, again, it's maybe I didn't look hard enough. Maybe everybody else knows, but I couldn't figure out what regulation this is under. It's a special exception. And if you look at that long special exception, it talks about special exceptions, industrial to residential to commercial. Is there a park district? And
I
this
think
is a
it's the
special exception.
municipal facility.
Municipal. you know
That's what
that-
I think it's coming under. I don't have my
Okay.
reg book right in front of me, but yes.
It
And
would
the
be
original
good.
special exception application.
That would be good to
will
have.
Reference
Yeah.
that, so
All right. And
I can have Austin pull some of that together for you so that you
and
have.
then that'd be, and the other thing is, since I was on that advisory board, I know there's an advisory board, but there's nothing from them at all. There's no resolution, there's no comment. My memory is we used to have to vote on things and we give her reasons and that kind of stuff. I went back a couple of years and couldn't find anything. So if the park board's silent about it, that's one thing.
No.
If they're against it, that's another thing. So if there is such a thing, it'd be helpful to us, I think, to know what the reasons are and what they did to think about this. That'd be good.
Yeah, Austin will be able to
Okay.
speak to that.
Great.
In his presentation of that. And
Well,
then just so
okay.
you know, if you have questions specifically as far as what is provided ahead of the hearing, then there's no requirement to close the hearing the night you open it. You can always request additional information from the applicant.
I
moving forward.
understand that, but I don't know if they're in a big hurry to do this, and it's not, they've got delayed
this is
now by
fine.
notice, and if we delayed them again 2 months because we asked them for something they could provide ahead of time, you might as well try to avoid that. Good.
Right. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
So if there's no further discussion, can we take a vote to table 22-25 CSP 1362 Boston Post Road until our November 17th meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? None? Okay, great. So moving on to our regular meeting, we have 22-24 CSP 31 Chapman Avenue, which is a coastal site plan review. Do we have applicants present?
Sure, Michael Harkin is here, engineer for the project.
Hey, guys, good evening.
Hi, Michael.
Good evening.
Good evening. Takes a little bit when Aaron puts us in as a panelist to go through the process, so we get a little bit of a delay. But good to see everybody. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Here tonight on behalf of my client, John and Christine Benchy, for their project at 31 Chapman Ave. Also working on the project is Simmons Quality Home Improvement, who will be the contract builder and project managers of the project. This is basically a tear down and rebuild of an existing residence. I'm going to share my screen if I can, Aaron. See if I
Yes.
could get some drawings up there so we can go through. If for some reason I can't share my screen, you have them, Aaron?
I have it ready if you just want me to. It's up to you.
Okay. See if it comes up. Up in the back hills of Killingworth, sometimes it's a little bit of a pain in the buttocks.
That might be reason enough for Aaron to pull them up.
Or
And to mute you.
Or for Mr. Harkin to move to Madison.
I'm in Madison enough. All right, can everybody see that?
No,
No.
Sorry, no.
you have to click on the screen you want to share if you have multiple screens, Mike.
Yeah, I know it's just being a little bit feisty. Aaron, why don't you put it up? I just came out of one and it was fine. It's just acting up now.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, guys, so this property again is located at 31 Chapman Ave. It's located in the R4 zone. It's comprised of about 1 acre of 1 acre of land. There are no inland wetlands on the subject site, but there are inland wetlands across the street. We do have inland wetlands approval. We went and worked with Aaron on that. Because there's no direct wetland impacts, we were able to do a section 13 approval. So we do have that in place. Again, there is an existing residence on the site. It is a 7-bedroom residence. There's also an existing garage up towards the front. And there's like a small concrete bocce court area off towards the westerly property line. So this is not a direct abutter to Long Island Sound. There is a property in between that's beach, but virtually the beach itself is what we call a coastal resource. Hence, the property is within 100 feet of the coastal resource. So here we are for a CAM application. The CAM application itself is for a simple tear down and rebuild, virtually almost in the same footprint. It's virtually in the same spot. Instead of a 7-bedroom house, we're going down to a 5-bedroom residence. Most of the appurtenance on the site we're reusing it, as far as the driveway. We're using the same driveway for the entry. Nothing's really changing. We're pulling the same utilities. There is public water, so we'll be using that. The electric is fed through the telephone pole that's at the front of the property. We'll be going with underground. On our plan, we do show the utilities being gas for heat, as a heating source. We may go down to geothermal. It may switch over, but I did want to show it on the property, on the plans, as far as it could be part and potential tie-in of the gas main. On the plan itself, we do have a septic system. It's a GST, state-of-the-art system. Again, we're moving that as far as we can from the coastal resource, which is the beach. We do have underground detention for the increase in impervious area, which is a set of galleys off to the westerly property line. And again, we show the coastal resource setback on our plan. We don't plan on doing any work within the coastal resource setback. So, and we've called out to be flagged. Currently, there is a row of silt fence right on that line as a demarcation at the site to, basically do not cross. One of the things that we're doing at the site is, I say the house is being teared down. It's actually not. It's being dismantled. They're actually taking it down, and somebody's going to reuse that wood for another project and potentially rebuild part of the house on another site. So the owner was very, very lucky to find somebody that wanted it and, was able to take that off. So it's not a full demo of the project itself. So additionally on that site, we do show a bunch of erosion controls. We have stockpile areas. We have things like silt fence, staked hay bales shown, construction entrance. And it's also important to note that there are some large trees on the site, and we were able to work around those and virtually save those. That was one of the main things that the client wanted was to be able to work around them, which we did, and save as much root mass as we can. We're actually very lucky with this site because where the house is going is up on an embankment high up, so it is in a flood zone X. And the soils throughout the site are very, very sandy. So that's the project in a nutshell. For us, it's a very simple project because it's almost being built in the same exact spot, utilizing the same exact utilities, except for the gas, which may be new. We're providing the new septic system, which we have health department approval. And the project itself, it meets all the bulk zoning requirements of the town of Madison, as far as lot area, lot coverage, setbacks, and things of that nature. So, you know, we do have other plans in the plan, say, you know, our detail sheet, which just virtually shows all the details, but that's kind of the meat and the potatoes of the project itself. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have at this time.
I do have a question. Aaron, would you mind pulling up the elevations for the proposal? And I understand these aren't the final construction drawings, but I just wanted to confirm about the height, Michael.
Yep.
I think the zoning regs are for 37.5 feet is the maximum height, and you all are listing it as something like, actually, I don't have it right in front of me, but 36 feet, 11.25 inches or something. Yeah, if you maybe zoom in on the side there, we can see that. Yeah.
So that calculation, it would be the architect who would confirm that and
Yeah.
based off of the, it's taken from average grade under a distinct portion of the building. So that would be required to be confirmed, compliance prior to issuance of a CO. Or
Okay,
a
great.
certificate of zoning compliance, I should
Yep.
say. That's a standard condition.
Yep.
It just seemed
And-
awfully close and then there's a plus or minus after the height there
Yeah.
that I just
Yeah,
caught.
Madam
caught my eye.
Chairwoman, I know that prior to John being sick, that the architect, Jen Burr, working with Simmons Quality Home Improvements, had multiple meetings regarding average grade and the height with John.
Great.
And then like Aaron had said, prior to this getting approved to build, that would have to be checked and double checked. And after construction, it would also be checked.
Good. And I take it you're not accounting for osprey nests.
No, actually, I was just on a project where one just in the middle of construction actually started nesting there. So,
I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Also, just additionally, I did receive comments, actually a coastal checklist from DEP, which is a little bit different than their standard letter that they issued. And it is in the record. This isn't a public hearing. This is just a coastal site plan. It's an administrative approval from the commission. But generally speaking, she identified the coastal resources that are on the site and adjacent, and potential impacts for sedimentation or erosion issues during construction, and recommended that, as staff did, that condition of approval would be adequate erosion controls and maintenance of those for the duration of the project.
Which is not a problem with us. I think that's actually it's said on our plan on the erosion control notes. So
Yeah, I
we do
think we
not
did.
take any exceptions to that.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Wow. Okay. Are we ready to take a vote?
Pretty simple.
It is pretty straightforward, I guess. And it looks great. I mean, and also it makes me happy to hear that they're recycling or reusing some of the materials because it's a beautiful, what is it, like a 1920 house, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Then some nice beams inside, some nice shiplap.
Yeah,
they're
the
trying
tongue
to
and groove.
actually, they're even utilizing the roofing material.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve this application? And we were provided with a draft by Aaron.
I can
I'll-
share it
I'll
if
move.
somebody doesn't have it up.
I actually, I think I have it up. So I'm
Okay.
happy to make the motion. So
Thank you.
voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application 22-24 CSP 31 Chapman Avenue, map 18, lot 68 R4. Owner applicant John Bench. Coastal site plan review, demolish and reconstruction of a single family dwelling with associated site improvements as detailed in application materials and site development plan prepared for John and Christine Bench, 31 Chapman Avenue by Harkin Engineering LLC, dated revised 9/8/22 with the following conditions. One, that the zoning enforcement officer be notified at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of any construction activities. Two, that all sedimentation and erosion controls be installed prior to any site disturbance and maintained for the duration of construction activities and until the site is sufficiently stabilized to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. In the event that changes to the approved plans are required as a result of other agency permitting to support the proposed activity, the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the right to review said changes and may require modification of this approval. This approval is made based upon the finding that the proposed site use is a permitted use in the district and that the proposal appears to be consistent with all applicable policies and standards of the Coastal Management Act of the state of Connecticut. The effective date of this approval is November 4th, 2022.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Elliot. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Approved unanimously. Thank you,
All right,
Michael.
guys, thank you so much. I hope everybody feels well that's ill.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks.
care now.
Going through the ranks here.
Here, Mike. Okay.
So next on our agenda, Erin, maybe you'd like to discuss a little bit with us, 22-27, 251 Boston Post Road. Which
Yes.
will be a petition for regulation amendment, and the public hearing is scheduled for November 17th meeting.
So the first thing I want to do is correct an error on the agenda and bring that to your attention, as this was posted, and I realized this after posting. The application that's before you is indeed for a petition for regulation amendment to section 32. It is not for a particular property. It is just a text amendment. So the typo on the agenda refers to this application only relating to 251 Boston Post Road, map 35, lot 53. However, that's not the case. And so the next time you will see this, and the way the legal notice will run for the November meeting, is simply that it is a petition for regulation amendment to section 32, which is the PDD regulation. And it's simply to, or I guess it's more specifically to identify the criteria for making lots eligible for PDD.
So Erin, would the applicant still be Fraser Luja?
Yes, he is the
Okay.
applicant. And you did see him before with a specific text amendment relating
Right.
to this particular property. And this, I just wanted to clarify that this amendment is for the general text and will apply to several properties in town. So, and at that meeting, I'll be able to present you with more specifics as far as what properties this could apply to. So you'll have that. I just didn't want it, and it didn't. I didn't catch it until Attorney Beatty reached out and said, "When do I post my sign on the property?" And I said, "Wait a minute, this isn't for your property." And then I looked at
right.
the agenda and said, "Oh, wait a minute, that's misleading." So I apologize for that, but that's not. This is a general text amendment. Will be posted in the town clerk's office accordingly, but does not relate simply to 251 Boston Post Road. That being said, the next regular meeting to schedule for a public hearing would be the November 17th meeting. If
Okay,
anybody
thanks.
would like to make that motion to schedule the hearing.
Well, before we do, actually, Erin, I wanted to also ask, in looking at the documents, it is sort of hard to see what the changes are. Is there a way?
I agree. I have this is something that I have worked with Attorney Beatty on, and I know he has a red line down the area. However, prior to the hearing and by next week, that would be amended to actually be red line brackets to
So we
show
can see
you
that
the new
clearly.
language that's being inserted into the existing text.
Great, that'd be helpful.
Yes, that was just a miscommunication with Attorney Beatty. But we do have that. And so it will be, we'll be prepared to kind of explain this more thoroughly. And I'll get you those maps so you can see the properties that this could affect.
Oh yeah, that's important. Great.
Right.
But we need to make a motion to have a public hearing for it on November 17th. Is that the
Yes,
idea?
please.
2022. Could I have a motion?
I so move.
Thanks, Ron. Second,
Second motion.
John, thanks. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Wow, this is great. Moving right along to our discussion. Erin, how are you feeling? Are you up for this discussion?
Sure. And this doesn't, I kind of put this in, I did put it into a staff. I tried to put it in a memo so that you can have the text of what Public Act 2129 did. Effectively changed several sections of Section 8-2, which is the zoning enabling statute. One in particular is the accessory apartment regulations. And within that within those new regulations, there is an opportunity for municipalities to opt out of this regulation. And the process to do so, I did also kind of spell out in our memo here, but it's a multi-step process, which requires the commission, there are several municipalities that don't have accessory apartment regulations. We in fact do, and we've had them for some time. And we have fairly lenient regulations compared to some other municipalities. However, they are not as permissive as the new statute that became effective January 1st, 2022. However, gives the municipalities a year to opt out. The opting out process requires a 2/3 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission to initiate an opt-out process, which includes a public hearing, and where you would go through your existing code if you have one, what the proposed regulations are, may allow for public comment, all within the standard statutory time frame that you normally have to operate under with a public hearing. And so, within 65 days after the close of your hearing, you have to make a decision, and you have to put findings on, for reasons why the commission feels that you'd want to opt out of the statutes. So I gave you a basic overview of what our existing regulations are versus the law. We started to do a comparison earlier in the year when John Guskowski was kind of transitioning between serving as interim town planner and myself coming on, where they did just a basic chart comparison between the two. Since then, I've kind of looked at some other towns, and SCROG, our Regional Council of Governments, has also compiled some data from all the participating municipalities to give you a feel if towns or cities are opting out or if they're adopting the regulations. I can say that just at first glance, most of the municipalities are opting out for various reasons. Some like their existing regulations, some would worry that the laws or the statute may change in the future, and this is your one-time opportunity to kind of retain control over the accessory apartments. Some have worried that under the statute, accessory apartments could not be deed restricted and counted as affordable housing. And some municipalities thought, we'll take whatever we can get at this point. Someone wants to deed restrict. And some have, in our case, such as our case, where you allow accessory structures in detached structures that, or an accessory building, we have different setback requirements for accessory structures, not allowing them within the front yard of the building, trying to keep our accessory structures behind the principal dwelling in residential zones. And under this new law, they would have to have the same regulations as a single family dwelling would. So we would, some of that would change the way that our regulations were specifically structured. Now that's fully up to you as a commission to kind of vet out if that's something you'd like to see change. This is all within your purview, clearly under the zoning regulations. So we have a few options. If we fail to do anything or take any action as of January 1st, because our regulations are non-compliant with the new law, our regulations would become null and void and the statute would prevail. We have the option of modifying our current regulations to meet all the standards in the new law. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is the commission can choose to opt out of the statutes and maintain our existing regulations. And that could be permanently or for a temporary time, to go through the plan of conservation and development and see where that goes. Or you can opt out and modify your regulations to pick and choose what you'd like to change. So those are 4 options before us. Just so you know, to complete the opting out process, it will also require a concurrent vote by the governing body, which is the Board of Selectmen. And so that's kind of why I'm bringing this before you now, is just to make sure that if we're going to go through a public hearing process, that you have enough time to do so, and also to allow the Board of Selectmen the opportunity to support your finding and confirm that opting out so that we can notify the state accordingly.
Do they need
So
to be?
that's-
Do they need?
What's
Does the Board of Selectmen need to be present at the public hearing, or can they follow up on our
No.
decision?
No,
Okay.
they can follow up. I was gonna plan to just let them know they're aware of the statute, but at their next meeting next week, I want to at least let them know what the process is, and that that you're going through this now to make your decision of which way you think we should move, and just to be aware that you may be requesting their support. I think in many cases it does make sense to opt out, but I think we can, in order to get to a deeper discussion on that, we have to make the decision to hold a public hearing to make the determination. So I think that's kind of where I'm recommending we move today, is to schedule a public hearing so we can go through the options, go through our existing regulations, hear from the public, if anyone has an opinion on the matter, and then ultimately make a decision following that public hearing. And
Aaron?
then
We
also,
don't have to make the option to opt out before scheduling the public hearing. We could go through the public hearing process and then decide
yes,
at that
that
point
is
whether
the
or not we need
process.
to. Okay.
But you do
I was-
need,
I was-
yeah.
I
the
was actually
statute-
thinking with six meetings left in the year, I
Yeah,
was
it's
wondering if
close.
we'd even be able to get it all done in, before
No.
January 1st.
Yes, we do have enough time to get it done. It doesn't require another public hearing from the Board of Selectmen. It just requires their affirmative vote. So the public hearing falls within your jurisdiction, and it requires a 2/3 vote to initiate the process. So initiate the process to kind of vet it out, and you can decide at the public hearing, or upon closing the public hearing, that you don't wish to move forward with an opting out. But this just kind of gets us moving into the direction of conversation. Sean?
And the public hearing
no.
would be likely the 17th also?
Yes.
Aaron, two quick questions for you. Are there criteria that towns have to meet to opt out? Or can they just make the decision based on their own, their own criteria? And then if the Board of Selectmen don't like our proposal, what would happen at that point? Let's say they vote against it. Would we have an opportunity to come back and have another discussion and a revision of our proposal, or would the new statute just go into place?
The goal is to have good communication between the commission and the board moving forward so that we're all on the same page. And so part of that is, I can absolutely recommend to the board to attend the hearing, to listen in, but they would also rely on me as staff to convey your message and the message of our residents to them, and we can do that as part of your findings on the record. So the only criteria, it's left very open. It's up to the discretion of each municipality. The only requirement, again, is the 2/3 vote to initiate the process, and also to state on the record the reasons for decisions. I can share with you some examples from other municipalities that have come up, if that's of concern, but it's not going to be the state checking your reasons to make that determination if they are valid. It really is. And it's kind of unusual, I guess, these statutory changes, but I think it must be related to some of the compromises that were made during that entire session. It was heavily zoning related with the Desegregate Connecticut bill. And I think this is a very watered down version of what was initially proposed in that session. So this was one of the compromises that they came up with, and I think to appease some of the municipalities and to get other aspects introduced into the statute. So that's my 2 cents here. And I was planning to do for your hearing just a general slideshow, bullet points of what are the important takeaways from our existing regulations and the statutes.
Did you say there was something available that had side-by-side comparisons?
I do, and I'm updating that this week because I found some more information that I thought was relevant to that. So ahead of our hearing, excuse me, on the 17th, I will have all of that information for you so that you can see the specifics. And really, I think one thing that's also relative to let you know, I have requested as part of our capital improvement program funding in the 24 and 25 fiscal years for a comprehensive review of our zoning regulations and our subdivision regulations for an update, which is appropriate after we finish our plan of conservation and development at the end of next year, so the fall. So then that would give us about 6 months to advertise and get a consultant on board to do our update of our zoning regulations, because likely our recommendations in our plan of conservation and development will change, and our priorities may change, and we want to make sure that our regulations reflect and can help implement some of those goals. And it's been quite some time since we've had a comprehensive review of our current document. We've had a lot of piecemealed additions that you'll find later on in the book. And it's one of those things that drives me crazy, where you think you see the regulations and you understand where you are, and then 20 pages later, there's an I gotcha that you didn't realize was going to come. So I think the conversation of housing diversity and affordable housing, those will all be relevant in our POCD. And maybe it doesn't make sense to make a lot of changes to our current regulations, over the next year. Or maybe we find we want to, personally, I think the 800 square feet is a little small compared to some of the other municipalities. And now the state law of a minimum of 1,000 square feet. So you may find you want to make a minor change to the regulations, in which case we would then initiate a zoning amendment process following the opt-out process, because that would then require, drafting text and then the actual advertisement for a text amendment. So any questions about the process of that, or maybe more information that you'd like to have available to you for the hearing to kind of weigh your options?
Well, on my part, I have a memory that the affordable housing plan adopted in May, I think it mentioned accessory housing as one of the benefits of promoting affordable housing. You sort of tied the two in also. So I think we need to be very much aware of what a recent plan of affordable housing says about accessory housing, to make sure we're not going a different direction.
Right. If you recall, when John Guzkowski kind of presented the plan to the commission, he talked about that capital A affordable housing and the lowercase a affordable housing.
Right.
And even though these, accessory apartments are not necessarily deed restricted, they often are at an affordable rate and do provide that housing diversity. And we've seen that in town. And I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve with our current regulations. We don't require a special exception process. So that's consistent with the statute. I think there are some things that, where the word character comes up, and that's kind of a no word now in the statutes as well, where you have
The number
to
of parking spaces, was that another one?
Right. We require a minimum of 3 parking spaces on a property. So in a situation where you have a more contemporary home that has already 2-car garage or something of that nature, it wouldn't necessarily be an issue to add 1 additional space. However, if you have an older home that only has a 1-car garage or room for 1 space, now in order to add an accessory apartment, you would have to add 2 additional parking spaces. So just trying to kind of work through the differences in the wording and what challenges our current regulations could lead. Personally, I don't think there really is a harm in opting out. I think that then the commission retains full authority over your regulation, and you can still opt out and adopt every one of the changes in this current statute. Should the statutes change in the future, you may not like what they changed to, or it may be inconsistent with some of your goals. And so that's where a lot of towns and their legal counsel actually has advised them to opt out. And that's something, if you're looking for as well, I can have Pete or Ira kind of give you an overview. We've had extensive conversations on this just throughout the Casio organization with land use attorneys from the Bar Association, and overall their recommendation was to opt out of the statute.
That would be good to have you.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Ira and see what they can provide as well, their opinion of that statute.
I also just want to mention that I'm going to be out of the country on November 17th. So
is that Elliot then in charge?
So Elliot, I think it's you.
And Carol, I'll be out of the country as well. So
That's right. I remember you saying that too.
yeah.
Can I ask another question? It really looks complicated, and we got it this afternoon, and I guess I wish we'd had more time, that we would have our own meeting to sort of go through and to get a feel whether we want to keep on regulations or opt out or keep the other. What I'm concerned about is a vote to have a hearing. Is that tipping our hand to the public and the world? We plan to opt out because that's the only reason we would have a hearing. Or can it be, hey, we're considering it. We want the world to come in and give us their comments and whatnot. If it comes down that we're doing this to opt out, I'm not ready to opt out. I don't know enough about it. So
Right.
I don't want it to be billed as an opt-out move. I want it to be billed as an information move, but we're really running out of time. This was last January and now here we have it
Well, it was,
for November.
it was July of 2021, actually, when the
Yeah.
statute came.
I was gonna say, I think I remember Dave having a couple
Yeah.
different discussions regarding
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. There's
And now we're having
no
two
harm.
board members missing, so.
Right, so there's no harm in, at a public hearing is as well of any to have a thorough presentation of what the differences are. And that can essentially be run almost as a workshop where staff is, where I'm presenting to you, here's our existing regulation, here's the statute, and here are the differences that you need to consider. Do you feel that you want, are you ready to, basically, it's a decision at that point to decide if you want to adopt all of the regulations in the statute. If there's anything part of that you're uncomfortable with, or just simply the fact that you don't want the legislative body to tell you what your zoning regulations are, then that's the time to say that. Initiating the public hearing, you can still close the public hearing and come to a determination after that, that you have no interest in opting out. So holding the public hearing is really for that informational session and to make that inclusive to the public and get their feedback as well. So I think we could do both in the same day. And I understand the concern with Shauna and Carol not being there. We do have, we could discuss this a little bit. We could always hold a special meeting if we really wanted to try to find a day that everybody was available to go through this. We do have our first meetings of the month, although we're trying to really push everything, any actual land use business to our second meeting of the month, just to preserve that for the POCD. But we do have some flexibility. We are in October, so we could find another date in November or try to have a little more continued discussion after working with John at our next meeting and the first meeting of November, if everybody's here. I'm open to that. You could still schedule the public hearing and we can still have a little workshop ahead of that to make sure that you have all the information you're looking for ahead of the hearing.
That would be great, actually, to use that first meeting, because I think this is kind of planning, even though it's not POCD.
Sure. It is, yeah.
Or maybe have
One
the
other
information
question.
available then, Aaron.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, Elliot. I just wanted to say, have the information available so we have time to kind of review it.
Yeah, I can get you, well, yes, this general memo is just kind of a brief oversight. I can send you the chart by early next week. I've been working on it this week, so I could probably even send it out tomorrow to you, the table that we had started. Or
Great.
I should say that John Guskowski's firm, Tyke, had started. And I just added some updates on that. I noted that I noticed that there was a section as far as minimum setback requirements and things where the table said we were consistent with the regulation. But then when I went back and read the accessory structure regulations, I realized we're not consistent with the statute. So I wanted to make sure that I went through the entire regulation as it relates to this statute and not just our particular accessory apartment section. So that was just the updates that I was making this week. So I'll put it on the agenda if you'd like for November. What is the first meeting in November as I look?
7th, maybe.
It's the third, I think.
Third, yeah, it sounds like this.
Okay.
The third? Yes, it's the third. So my
Elliot-
only question would be if you are interested in holding a public hearing on the 17th, or at least opening the hearing on the 17th, it doesn't have to close on the 17th. That I would have to send a legal notice to the newspaper prior to our meeting on November 3rd, because it typically takes 3 weeks to post for ahead of a hearing. And so I would need to let them know by next Tuesday. So if you are interested in having that hearing open on the 17th, we would need a motion to do that today, so I can plan the legal accordingly.
Elliot, did you have something else you wanted
Yeah, I
to
had
ask?
just one other question regarding the 2/3 majority. Was that to go to the step of having the public hearing, or was that the vote that would be needed for opting out?
Tonight even, yeah.
So the statutes, and this is based off of opinion from the Connecticut Bar Association. The statute indicates that the Planning and Zoning Commission by 2/3 votes to initiate the opt-out process, which gets you to the public hearing. And then it doesn't say that a 2/3 vote is required to approve. But the interpretation amongst the Bar Association is that it does require the 2/3 vote. So they've been advising municipalities, not only the 2/3 to initiate the process, but 2/3 to actually pass the opting out. Because it does also require a 2/3 vote of the Board of Selectmen to ratify that.
All right, well, because I'm just thinking with just 4 board members present on the 17th, basically it would either be a yes or a no to move forward, because it would either be 75% or 50% or 100%.
So, yeah, let's see.
So basically if one person were to vote no, it would only take one, it would end up passing, and if 2 people voted no, it would fail. There's not any.
We don't have many people to give
Yeah.
us much of a leeway. So it's pretty much going to have to be a consensus by the commission.
Pretty much.
I think moving forward. Yeah. So which is reason for us to have a good discussion about it. And for you, if you think of something or a question that comes up, this is very much a planning related item. So if you have a question between now and our next meeting of November 3rd, let me know so that I can get those answers to you, because they're all valid questions as far as how to plan ahead, or if we don't, if we require certain people to occupy, is this a problem versus versus the statute. So it's technical, the regulations are technical, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to read through them. It basically is telling towns that you can't apply any additional standards to accessory apartments that you wouldn't apply to a single family house. And when you look at it that way, Madison does, and many towns do, because I think towns have overly, tried to maintain smaller, tucked away little units that didn't change that character of a single family neighborhood, I should say. And
Right.
so that's that whole sense of character and is being called into question now in the statutes.
And even, the use of the word is.
Right, where
not
municipalities can't fall back on that general term anymore for basically preventing certain types of development.
And Aaron, I noticed just looking over our own regulations that the accessory building regulations go back to 1976, some of them, and, or, maybe they were updated, amended in 99, I think. And then section 24 was effective as of October 1989. So.
Which is pretty good. I mean, we've allowed accessory apartments for quite some time, which is
that's a good
more
way to
than
look at
other
it.
towns. Some
Yep.
towns still don't allow them, and some are opting out to never allow them. We are not that. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
That's not kind of the boat that
could-
we're in here.
it could be
We're
worse.
looking at minor modifications to our
Mhm.
regulations.
Right.
I think I would be in favor of setting the public hearing process started, but definitely would like to set aside, 45 minutes to an hour on the meeting on November 3rd, just to go through it in a little more detail, the differences in, what direction we're going to be heading in for the 17th.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sounds good to me
I
too.
still view this as initiation of an opt-out, and don't have enough information whether I feel like we should opt out. So I'll just abstain. You got enough votes to move ahead with it, and I'll very well may favor the opt-out. I just think it's tipping her hand. Aaron just said it's a vote to begin the opt-out process, and I'm not there to begin. I don't know enough yet, so.
Shona, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of having a public hearing on the 17th about this.
Great.
One other question before we move much further. I didn't catch at the beginning of the meeting, but is John seated for Giselle for
It's
voting
tonight.
matters?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I just didn't catch it then. I just wanted to make sure before we
Yeah.
actually casted a vote.
It was
I
right
wouldn't have
after I
been
misused you. I got the wrong last name for you, Elliot. So yeah,
Okay.
you were
Elliot, I
probably
might not
focusing
have
on
been
that.
as principled if he wasn't seated to make sure you can go ahead if you want to.
So do we need to vote, Aaron, or do we have a strong enough?
Yes, you do
You
need
have
to take a vote.
Absolutely.
So could we have a motion to move forward with a public hearing regarding opting out of accessory dwelling units?
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for November 17th to start the process of potentially opting out of the Public Act 21-29.
Do we have a second?
A second motion.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All in favor
Aye.
Aye.
and opposed?
Same.
And one abstention? Is that what we're hearing? Okay.
Abstain or abstention, whichever word.
Okay, thank you. And I'll have this on the agenda for November 3rd as well.
Great.
Great.
That would be really helpful. All right, next agenda item goes to our secretary, Elliot Hitchcock, for approval of minutes.
I did buzz through them real quick, and it looks like we do have enough people present for each of them compared to the last meeting when we were short on a couple.
Right.
The first one would be our August 30th special meeting. Members present were Snow, Hitchcock, Hay, Bodenson. No alternate present at that time. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussions or changes? See none, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
that's unanimous, approved. The next one is our September 15th meeting. Members present were Snow, McDowell, Bodenson, alternates present, Duza. I will entertain a motion.
I so move.
A second?
Second,
Any changes or discussions?
I have one very, very minor typo on page 4. which I don't know why. I guess I was raised by a father who corrected my grammar all the time. But on page 4, the bottom paragraph, Commissioner Bodenson wondered, starting with that, with respect to there, that should be THEIR. Sorry to be so picky, but
I
there
didn't.
you go. Can't help it. Otherwise, the minutes look beautiful.
That drives me crazy too, Carol. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Any additional changes or discussions? All in favor?
I'm
Opposed?
And I'll abstain. I was not there.
I'm going to abstain also. So pass 3-0-2. Last one is our October 6th meeting. Members present: Snow, Hitchcock, Bodenson, and Duza. And once again, entertain a motion.
I so moved. Approve them.
Ron, second.
Second.
John. Any discussions or changes? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Opposed?
I'll abstain again.
Abstain. 4-0-1. And that's all I have.
great. Thank you, Elliot. We made progress tonight. I have no remarks. Erin, do you have any other remarks for this meeting?
No, I don't.
Any other further discussion from or comments or anything from anyone else?
Get well.
Thanks.
Stay healthy, the rest of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we have
I'm
a motion?
trying.
Yeah,
trying to
good luck,
stay
Elliot.
healthy.
You're like a dead man walking there, Elliot.
I'm 4 for 4 on negative tests so far this week, so hopefully I'll keep going for a couple more
It took
days.
crossed.
It took me 5 days of symptoms to test positive.
Oh, no.
I'll keep my
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
There you go. Anyway, could we have a motion to adjourn then?
I
I'll
so
make the
moved.
motion.
And a
I'll
second.
second it.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Oh, sorry, we should all
Yeah.
say yes and good night
Bye. Aye and bye.
and rest
Thanks.
up.
Good night.
Plenty of
Take
fluids.
care.